Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. It's time for everybody's favourite segment, Louis' Handball, $10,000 on the line. Thanks to CC. We love this part of the show. Mitchie Wallace at the moment up on 79. He is the clubhouse leader. We've already got Boomer here. We've seen him so far today. But what about this man? 378 games for the Bombers. Simon Madden. And what a star he was. But before I introduce you now, Damien Barrett is a real fanboy. He came up to me, he said, can I ask the first question? Can I get in early? So I said, Damo, that's all yours.
Well, I don't think you get enough credit, Simon. I know you're always humble about it, but you started as a 16-year-old, finished as a near 35-year-old. You jammed in 378 games, as Brownie said, but 575 goals as well. I mean, people just need to get their heads around that.
Well, I'm a bit, angry assist player because I had the most goals at Essendon, and they brought in a full forward. I spent 2/3 of my time in the ruck and 1/3 in the forward line, right? Kicked 575 goals. If they had left me in the forward line, I would have kicked 1,725 goals and been leading goal kicker. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I used to watch this tape called Electrifying 80s when I was a young fella, and they used to have the highlights of all the great marks every year, 81, 82. Have a look at that around the man on the mark. You were in the highlights every year.
Oh, well, if they kick the ball up high enough and you're in the right position, you get a chance. So, no, look, it's great. It was a great era. I had a great time.
You say enough credit, though, Damo. Some will say Simon was the greatest ruckman that ever played the game. And most would agree with that, Simon.
I don't, they're your words, and I'm not going to take them out of your mouth.
Who was your biggest challenge in those days?
I had a long list from Thompson, Dempsey, Justin. My brother Justin was 6 foot 10, 125 kilos at one stage. Don Scott. Mick Knight, he just had this long list of the blokes you had to play against.
So how do you see it now, the art of the modern ruckman?
Oh, I think they got the circle wrong, and I could explain about that. What I said to them when they asked about putting the line in, I said, don't put a line in, put a circle slightly bigger or smaller and start outside the circle. Because the line was put in because of Dempsey and Thompson wrestling in one grand final. It was one game and it was ugly, and they made this knee-jerk reaction to that. And I said, what you need is the blokes coming from every angle. What happens around the ground? Nobody does a knee around the ground because you don't run straight at each other.
What about this?
Written, spoken, authorised by Simon Madden.
What about this stupid ruck nomination rule where you got to nominate who's rucking? What do you think?
Well, I was spoken about that, and I said, I don't reckon you need that because some other. You've got to be careful what you say. I said, some bloke come in, if he came in third, you do it once, you wouldn't do it again, I tell you. So, but look, I just, it's a funny one, isn't it? We want to regulate it so much, yet we still don't throw the ball up in the centre. Yeah. We're allowed to have this second attempt at the ball after a bounce. And I said, well, how exact do you want it to be? Do you want it to be exact like it's a chessboard, or do you want to have a bit of flow? So which way are we going? Because we've got all these, rules. You can't even look sideways. Yet you can have a second bounce for the umpires, So let's get it more exact, please.
It's been amazing getting all the AFL legends back, and the amount of people on this show have been on the Sunday Footy Show. You're one. We've had David Rees-Jones, we've had Mel Brown earlier on in the year. So tell us about these days.
Look, you work with some of the greats. Lou Rich, look at that young fella. Looks like my son. It can't be me. It was working with some of the greats like Lou Richards, E.J. Whitten, Maxie Walker was on the Sunday show, was helping out at one stage. You learnt a lot from. That's the real one. You can see that now. You learn a lot from all those blokes about how they went about making it a bit of theatre, a bit interesting, a bit of football, the whole mixture. And
you've always been in the music business. You're in a band as well. But tell us about what you're doing at the moment, because you've got a musical going at the moment called Shorey. There's Alan Jakovich.
What about that one? It's just carried on like lunatics, as we always do. I'm the executive producer of a show called Shorey. It's a play. Neil Cole, a playwright, wrote it. He's very good, really interesting. It's on at Chapel Off Chapel starting Wednesday, goes for a week. A really interesting story because it's more than just about football. It's about the ups and downs of life. It talks about the family, talks about Shorey's success. And it's very good for me because that's the 1990 premiership they're talking about for Collingwood. Very cathartic for me, which is a big word, but I can actually heal now. I can get over the 1990 premiership and get this out of my system.
You're up against Boomer Harvey, who we've had on the panel.
Well, hang on, this is not fair. It's not fair because, he's still playing. Yeah. I haven't done a handball for 30 years. How many kicks did you get yesterday?
No, I didn't play yesterday.
Oh, you had a day off. So fresh for today. Yeah. Thanks very much.
You've been on talking about current issues most of the game. We want to look at your career as well, which was phenomenal. One of the great North Melbourne players and obviously great AFL players in general. But Boomer, what's the most amount of games you missed in a season over your journey?
I think it was 2009. I was captain, my first year of captain. I dislocated my elbow in round 5 or something. So I think I missed about 8 games with the dislocated elbow.
And a suspension there at one point?
There was a couple of suspensions.
Boomer, for most of those 400-odd games you were tagged. No one tags anymore. It frustrates the life out of me. But how good would you have been if there was no taggers running around?
Oh, I talk about this all the time. I'd love to play football with some freedom.
500 games.
Would have been nice to get a little bit.
Kane tag you?
Kane did tag me a few times.
How'd you get him?
What's
the ledger?
Kick out from full back. I used to do, and he used to pay that. To play on, get a free stat.
Honestly, though, he was, I say this all the time, he was my hardest opponent, Brownie. He's a freak. Because,
why was he hardest opponent?
Because of his work rate, his footy smarts, but then his ability to go forward. And you had to be a defender and a midfielder to be able to stop him. So there's the scenes there. But yeah, unbelievable career. But
loved the goal too, didn't you?
Who did you find hard? I think Lingy had a reasonable record on you.
Yeah, Lingy. I'll tell you who, Sean Hart was really good early on. He had a good endurance and good speed as well and was really disciplined. So he was probably one of my hardest.
All right, the great Lou Richards was part of the show when you were on there. So we've brought back Lou's joke every week. This is this week's.
Well, why do Catholics have bigger balls than Protestants?
Why do Catholics have bigger balls than Protestants? What than Protestants?
Because they sell more tickets.
Bill.
I think we've had that one. We liked it that much, we rolled it around a second time. OK, move the target. Who's going to go first?
Look, I'm going to go first. And I'm not confident, right?
Simon Madden up first. Have a couple of extra metres there, Simon, if you want.
I'll just,
Come on, Simon.
just that big step. Just that big step. No, all right, here we go.
Move the target.
Oh, that was a bad one. Bad start. Hang on, here we go.
We're on the board.
That's
7, 9, 2, 11. Yes! 21.
10. There we go. And missed.
At 23. Up to Boomer. Have a look at his pipes.
Have a look at this.
Here we go.
7.
Oh,
Generous.
7.
it's 14.
You got one.
7.
21
7.
is 28.
7.
As 35. So Boomer leads by 12.
12.
Leads by 12.
No, not allowed.
Yeah, if you want. It's up to you.
Oh, what do you reckon? Jeez.
2 is 25.
Sugar.
2.
That's
Is 27.
TJ.
Is 29.
Hang on.
And the last one's on. And it's a 5. 34. Boomer, you win. 7. It's 42.
7.
It's 49.
7.
56.
7.
63.
Consistent.
73 to Boomer, so he equals Dustin Fletcher up there on 73. So Simon,
Do I
Boomer.
get the wooden spoon?
Did we beat Jimmy Buckley with the score?
I don't think we did.
I'm sure there's a prize. It might be one of those raffles where you win a prize for being last
I was going to say,
as well.
You always work the back end.
Simon, we've loved the chat. Boomer, we've loved having you on the show as well.